Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it goes really good, and we haven't seen us for a very long time already.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's been a long time. Yes, it's nice to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. You too. And I always saw you at least like once or twice a year. So
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, you would bring me over to do tours, yeah, at least once a year, or at the very least, every other year. But yeah, it's been way too long. But I'm glad to see you're alive and healthy in these strange times.
I mean,
Surreal times.
yeah, it's strange times, but I must say it's so weird because when all that started, I was a little bit in a panic, of course, like everybody, because it was something I never experienced before, like
Yeah.
everybody. But now, like at the end of 2021, I must say I had like the fucking best 1.5 years when it came to business.
That's
So
that's great.
it's so strange, you know. It's like people ask me like, "Oh, how are you?" And then I'm like, "I'm actually good," and they're like,
That's good.
"Yeah," and they just wait on the but, you know, and
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I think because everybody's going through something that like it's surreal when like when you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I feel the same way. 2021, like if I summarize it, it was. I mean, 2021 was really difficult. Or sorry, 2020 was really difficult. But this past year, it's definitely way better than the previous. So there's still things. I think I've had to really, like anyone, I've had to adapt the normal things I was used to doing. I just don't feel comfortable or safe, going to a movie theater or like, going bowling or just doing stupid things I used to do. To me, like I just risk assess it, like I'm like, well, I mean, even if I wear a mask in those places, there's always a chance, so it's like, I just tried to like, do more things outside. Like last year, I was like, okay, well, I'll just do a bunch of solo road trips and go to a bunch of national parks and things. I went to like Death Valley and all these really pretty places outdoors because it's safer. If you're going to go eat somewhere, do it out on the patio or outside. And so I think yeah, you just have to adapt to this like new way the world is, at least for the short term, and then hopefully in the long term it becomes something more like a flu or something where it's an endemic and it's something that we just live with and it happens. And it's, the more like antiviral drugs and things and the more we get even better vaccines, I think the more it will just become more of a nuisance, like those things, like the flu or something. But as of right now, though, I mean, I think that, I just take it careful.
yeah, and one thing, even though like I'm in a long relationship already for so long,
Yeah.
I'm really used to be on my own, and I think that's a
Yeah.
big plus. I like you don't
Me
have to
too.
you don't have to get used to drive around on your own and do things on your own outside because you did that all the time.
Well, not all the time, but yes, I
No, I mean
definitely
all the
had.
time
Yeah.
regularly. You know what I mean? It's like
I do.
you're not like the person that always has to be in company, always in a group, and always
Yeah, I don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool because I talked to Silvio about that, and Silvio is actually quite the same. Like he can he can stay alone for a certain time, and he's totally cool with that. Like he's not losing contact to like
He seems that way. Yeah. He's
yeah.
very much. Yeah. That's respectable. I think it's a good thing if you can be independent. I mean, I think that I do enjoy touring and playing shows, but I just, the first year it was harder to think about like, oh wow, there's literally we will probably be the last ones that will be able to safely go back to play, to working, because we work in crowds. I mean, our show depends on a big crowd of people singing along like a big choir, a
Yeah.
sweaty punk rock choir. So I don't feel like at first that was something that was really easy to deal with. I know Dustin, our drummer, he took that really hard, and for me, I can understand that, but I think after I got over that initial like fear response, I was like, you know what? I think I heard this one really wonderful woman who is like I think she does like meditation and therapy and things with people, and she said some quote like you know, focus on the things that you can control and not the things that you and don't focus on the things that you cannot control. And I thought, like, oh, that's really simple but very profound, and I just had to go with that, you know. So now I just try to use the time for things that are positive, and you know, I have my days where I get down and depressed and just kind of like in a funk, but you know, I mean, it's still, you know, I'm the same person, just have to fill the time with different nonsense, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, was it when it started, like in 2020, just because I'm really curious about that, like, was this the longest time you haven't played a show so far, or is it like
yes
oh really?
Oh yeah, this is since the ATARIS started. I mean, there was one like point between So Long a Story and Welcome the Night. After we got the rights back for Welcome the Night, and we finally released it on Sanctuary in the UK, and they released it worldwide. But I mean, we did touring for that album, but then then Sanctuary folded and decided they were only going to be a management company, and it was at that point where we all kind of, me and John and the other guys from that lineup, all kind of went our separate ways, and I moved back to Indiana. And there was a gap there. I think that was maybe a year where we didn't really play much because I was kind of regrouping and figuring out what to do next. And then I met Brian Nelson and you know, those guys that played with me in Indiana, and I put like a band back together, and I realized, like, oh, I can still do this. It doesn't matter, you know, I'll just put some other guys. But that was probably the longest time of not playing. But even during that, I went out and decided I'd play acoustic shows, and I drove around in my car, and I did trip down to Mexico and all over America. And then you brought me over to Europe for the first time. And I think, so that was probably about the time when I had the longest gap. But even that was like, you know, I had those shows. So yeah, this is by far, you know, this is 2 full years since we played a show. Last was November 2019. But you know, like the thing I always say is that when the Pixies got back together, I remember Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. He said this quote, and I'll always remember it. He said, "The worst thing we ever did was not break up." Because when the Pixies got back together, they were playing like small stadiums and stuff, and like, you know, 15,000 capacity venues on their own. And the Sonic Youth, you know, they still played big shows for like 3,500 cap rooms and more. But still, like, I think they realized how much that like absence from the world makes people get demand, and they really want to see you. So the way I started thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of excited because I would have never willingly taken this time off. Yeah. So what I started planning is like, okay, well, when we do come back, I want to come back with the most exciting, impactful thing for the ATARIS that I can. So I started thinking of a bunch of ideas and scheming, like, okay, well, when I'm not going to play any shows at all. So when we do come back, there will just be a lot of demand and a lot of excitement for like, oh, it's been 4 years. This band hasn't played a single show. Yeah. And I think that's one thing we needed, because we were always touring and always playing shows and always out there. And I think it was just one, because it was something I was so used to doing, this routine. And I think it took a global pandemic to make me finally realize, like, hey, man, you don't have to tour all the time, and you don't have to depend on that. You just have to find other ways to make a living. And that's why, like, I saw Mike Herrera from MXPX. He's really good about, you know, being on social media and like, hey, guys, I'm doing all this. I was never good at that. He's like a good salesperson, and I respect him greatly for that. But it's hard to put myself in that element. So I literally had to, like, I looked at him and I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn something from this, and I'm going to try to be a little more outgoing, because I'm very introverted. You wouldn't think so. You know me. When I know
what you mean. And the thing is, if you look at Mike, like Mike Herrera is a perfect example for us to talk about, because like we know him, and the thing is, like, he always had, like, when we toured, his phone was like
camera.
Yeah, it was always like a camera view style. And to us, the phone was more like, oh, I'm going to check my emails or my messages, whatever. Yeah. So that's a big difference. So And I think if you try too hard to be somebody like Mike Herrera does this on a natural basis, it just looks silly. It's like,
totally.
I would totally laugh at you if you would pick up like a fucking live Instagram, like, hey guys, like, you know.
Yeah.
And to him, like when he's doing it, it's just him. It's like,
it's just his personality.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of people like that today. I think there's so many bands that, like, I mean, the difference is with Mike and MXPX, they already did the groundwork and built their band up from the grassroots, like ground up, like very organically, where you have some artists nowadays and like social media stars and social media influencers, where they build their entire existence from social media. That's the difference. I think that's kind of, I'm not going to like put down anyone, but I think, you know, that social media influencer world and what we all do is totally different. But I think if you're in like a rock and roll band or a punk rock band or indie rock band, and you realize you have these tools of social media to promote your product and your brand and your band, why not use it? Especially in a time where a lot of bands have chosen not to tour. Granted, there have been some that decided to start touring again, but like every week I see another tour that gets sidelined or cut in half. Like Lagwagon had fucking, or can I curse? I don't know if this is,
you can do whatever you want.
Okay. Lagwagon had 3 separate points in their tour where there were COVID outbreaks in their touring party. Like that must be a new record. Like Bad Religion and Alkaline Trio had to cancel. There's so many big shows always, you know, and my fear is like, okay, I've already had COVID twice and it was really bad, and now I'm vaccinated. So like, I don't have to worry about that as much, I think, if I got it again. But what if we got out on tour in the middle of the country and suddenly we had to miss 10 shows because we got sidelined because somebody on the touring party got it? Like Brian, our old bass player, he was out with the band Baroness. They had the singer and the sound engineer got COVID, and they got stuck in Salt Lake City for 3 days. And then they had to go, the rest of the tour went on to Kansas without the singer and the sound engineer. And they just had to wait in a hotel room for 5 more days. And it was nearly over a week before the guy finally tested negative. And then they were able to finally pick the tour back up in Chicago, but they almost canceled. So I feel like it would be hard to do it and make a living right now. I think when we do tour again, we'll probably do small, like 3-day weekend type stuff, like maybe play like Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, like 3 shows, and then stop
on the routing.
Yeah, exactly, because that's really the only way that it will make sense. Because if somebody gets COVID or something, then we didn't lose any shows. But I don't think we can do a month at a time, maybe a week at a time at maximum, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, what you just said before is actually why I'm doing these. It's like 4 video calls I set up. Yeah. I just made up, like, I never asked a band like you or Mike. I would never ever come to you like, hey, we got a new record. Can we just play like 5 shows in the US with you, or any stupid idea? Or
I would help you with that anytime.
I know you would, but it's just like not. I just never would, you know, because like I see, if you do things together, it has a reason. You worked for it. You kind of made it happen. So that's why I was.
But you help us, we help you, and you've always helped us. So I would always.
No, of course, but I mean, always when I book your shows and we come with you, that's actually like I always see it as a payment. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, to me that it's always equal, and it's good, and it's perfect. So I was thinking about what are we going to do if we set up a pre-order for the new record. We definitely have to do something on social media, and of course we produce some funny videos where I was looking at and I was like, no way I'm going to put this on any of the channels, because I am not a Mike Herrera too, you know. I'm like, when it comes to that, it just looks silly, and or it looks like a salesman. Like,
you need to do something that feels comfortable with your vision of and your, you know. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I need to put my own stamp on it, you know.
Yeah, and so I thought about, like, I'll just pick my. It's hard to say with you. It's not an actual tour, and with Mike it's the same. you guys are like off that, but there is like our first tour we did with a German band, and then there is a tour we did with a Dog Eat Dog from New York. And so to me it was clear, I'm gonna take these four singers into a talk and just use it as, you know, but cool. People actually can listen to like stories and see, oh, they are not just like this. They were not just a support band on that tour. They actually know each other, you know, and
yeah, right.
A personal thing.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I feel very thankful that we met a long time ago, because for those who don't know, I mean, you've booked helped book all of the tours we've done in Europe, and also help with arranging some things for the UK as well. You will always help provide a backline, so we'll have gear to play on and a vehicle, and we share a vehicle sometimes. And yeah, you've definitely done that for a lot of bands, you know, and that's a really big help. I talk about that a lot with people when they ask me, like, what do you do for touring in Europe? Do you have like a booking agent? I'm like, well, we have like a friend, a guy that's like I guess he is our booking agent, but he's like not. He just like, we trust him and he trusts us, and he prints merch and he does everything. So you're like a one-stop shop for a lot of bands that like does all this. And I explain that to a lot of people, and they're like, oh, it's really cool. And I think I was talking to Marco about this from Sugar Cult, because he does a master class he works at a university teaching a music class to students. It was really fun to do that. And this is the last time I was on Zoom, and we just talked about that. And he mentioned like how some bands would keep a back line over in Europe and stuff. I'm like, well, you know, we consider that, but we don't even have to do that, because our friend Joel, that's what he does for bands. We just use their gear and they arrange everything, and it works out. And in turn, we put you on the shows and you make some money as well. But it's also a thing, you know, where you can sell merch and help get your band out there. And I think that's what we talked about, how it all started for bands when there was just touring by word of mouth and by, fanzines and things. Is you would find that maybe you lived in LA, and the next town over, you would find another band like, hey, I will book you a show in Los Angeles if you help us book a show in San Francisco. And that's how it's been going on since the 1980s and early or late 70s, when punk rock became like really a thing. And, you would trade shows. And I think we just took that to another level where, you help bands do that internationally. And it's been, it's super great, because very thankful for you.
I mean, the thing is, I must say, I do it like the first tour I actually risked that was actually you going solo in Europe. So yeah, it's really funny, because like I haven't done it that much, I could have done it way more, but the thing is with you, and I think that makes it so special. I try to decorate my merch here.
I see this. It's smart. That's really cool. I like it.
Because I just wanted to show, like, with you, I just got stuck. It's like, it's crazy.
It's like everybody in my life. That's always kind of their thing. Like, oh, Chris, with you, I just got stuck.
Yeah, and in a good way, because like we started, like the first tour I did, like it was 2009. It was the first time you actually came over, and
wow.
I was actually really scared, because there was some money involved from my side for a person I didn't know, except for being the artist, So I just drove there, and I was like, dude, if that guy's an idiot, I'm like, we stuck with that guy for four more days, and we're just gonna be like awful, So we met up there, and then got like a little break of 1 or 2 years, and then did another tour. And so that stuck with me. And no other artists except you and Mike, actually, I have done that for. The other ones were just like, it was cool, but it was just a one-time thing, because
that's cool.
When I did that with you, I just thought myself, how can I tour and not have to worry about where to play and stuff? So I thought, like, the good idea is you just bring a band, you just work for them, and you just take your show time as a payment, kind of, It's like, it's actually kind of like a buy-on with no money. It's like you
Yeah.
work
But you make money from the shows too. I mean, not a lot, because obviously it goes to, you know, your cost to get over to the UK if we're playing in the UK,
Yeah.
or, you know, but you're, you know, at the same time though, yeah, that makes total sense, because yeah, it's like you get to go to some places where you otherwise maybe wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I think what a lot of people don't understand sometimes is, you know, like me, I think I'm different because I kind of always controlled what the Ataris do myself. Like if I like a band or if I like a person, I'll be like, yeah, I'll put you on the shows. But a lot of big tours, like they don't really operate that way. It's always like, does this, you know, you'll have a booking agent. It'll be like, does this opening band draw some people, or how big are they? And like, they'll just veto if a band wants to put their friends on the shows, because I feel like for me, it's more about, I would rather take out some bands where I like the people. And, you know, with you, I like your songs a lot. I mean, I think you're a great songwriter, and I think that, you know, you're fun to tour with, but it's also like, sometimes, you know, a lot of these bigger bands have larger operations where they have people that want their say of who they want to build a package of the tour with. And I think that can be good from a standpoint of like financially, or maybe from a promotional standpoint. But I never did things very orthodox. I feel like, you know, you can take out bands for those reasons too, but I always like to help people out too, because that's what it's all about. And you help me and I help you. So yeah, everybody deserves a chance. Yeah,
I know what you mean. And see, like, because I really understand when a bigger band or a bigger company cannot just put you on shows for no reason. I'll do that because I was a promoter myself in Basel.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool, I get that. So my plan or my vision was, I work for that tour. You know, it's like, so
yeah,
like you say, like you just make yourself that important on the tour, so you actually have to go with, you know.
Yeah. So that's a good point.
Yeah, that was like my main thing, because like I was always aware, and still are, that my band is like any other band, like 1,000 millions of bands out there. It's just a small band, and that's totally fine, you know. So it's like you just find different ways to actually get on those tours. Like the same thing with the merch shop, you know. When I started doing merch for Dog Eat Dog, that was actually because I'm listening to that band since I'm like 14. So it just slowly got to the point where we played one show together on a kind of an accident, and they were like, that was really good, you're actually pretty easygoing, you should come on tour with us. And I was like, yes, reached it, you know. And I worked for it, you know. It was not like,
but that's like all it's about, you know. I think people don't realize sometimes that you know, networking and things, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be out there kissing people's ass. Sometimes it's just fate or luck that you just happen to, like, you know, play a show with another band and you just hit it off. Like with MXPX and us, it's the same thing. I met them at one of their shows in like 1997 in Indiana, and I just gave them a demo. I was like, hey, you know, I like your band. And they were like our same age. And then we ended up being on a couple shows together that the Vandals put on. And then after that, MXPX and us, we got along so well, I didn't think anything of it. But then they later asked us, hey, you want to come to Japan and to Australia with us? And they were the first band to ever take us out of America. So sometimes that's what it's all about. Maybe you just make a personal friendship or connection with somebody, you think nothing more of it, and then maybe they call you up a year later and be like, hey, I really liked hanging out. Let's play some shows. I think sometimes that goes a lot further than anything else. You know, like the biggest impressions I've had with bands are the times where like we just had fun, you know. And I think sometimes because I'm very like awkward and antisocial, not in a bad way, but just I just kind of like hanging to myself. Or if I'm in America, I'll like with my dog after the show and watch a little TV and go to sleep. I'm not a partier or anything, but neither are you guys. You guys are just like really chill and fun to get along with. But for some bands, I think if you're not out there, you know, getting wasted and hanging out, maybe you miss some of those connections. And like I know Fat Mike from NoFX, I think he kind of signs bands sometimes on like, just, he said, I think once, that if the band's fun to hang out with and get drunk with, you know, I'm not really that band. So I feel maybe you miss some opportunities, but the ones you make are good and personal and important.
True, maybe you miss some opportunities, but still, in the end, like that was my thing when Slimboy broke up in 2010 for a few years before we got along with Mike. That was my thing, because we got offered a contract in Europe, in Germany. There is a magazine called Bravo, and that's like a big magazine I was looking at when I was a teenager. It was like a pop magazine with all the pop band stuff in it, and you got like the posters in the middle you can take out and stuff. So they offered us, and they offered us a deal which was called the Bravo deal for that magazine. That means you get signed to a management, you get like a certain amount of money earning every month, but you actually just do what they want. You know what I mean? So, and at that
like
time,
a development type deal.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this before, like all those radio shows in the US and stuff, where at some point you just can't handle it anymore, and it's just like
no.
Yeah, and that was the same thing with that contract. So they sent me in Zurich. They sent me to a band from Germany. I won't say any names, but I was getting in that green room, and these were like the party animals. Like 100%. It was like the gay keyboard player, the woman, she was like tattooed everywhere, and like you came in there and you just saw like, oh, you're like that sticker girl. They just looked so made up, like.
Yeah.
So they were like,
they're playing a part.
Yeah, and they were like handing me over a beer without saying hello and stuff. At that moment, intentionally, I was like, no way I'm going to do that for like a few years. It's like, it's impossible. I know it gets the band to another level, but no. And so I know what you mean, but I mean, what's the good thing about if you go to a band who's partying all the time and kiss asses by partying, and then you feel like uncomfortable for the next fucking 2 years, like touring bands like these.
You have to be sincere. You have to do it on your own terms. It's totally good way, the best way to do it, I think.
And it's also like nobody gets like frustrated. You know what I mean? It's like I did like some of these bands that I brought over from the US, and as I said, it was not like hundreds, or it was like I did like 10 tours with different bands. And some of them were partying just all the time. And you're just like, I'm really glad. I mean, we always had great tours, but I was always like, I'm really glad it's over in like 2 weeks. I couldn't stand this for like fucking 2 months or something. I would go.
Yeah, it wears you out. Yeah, I think as you get older, you learn how to balance life at home and life touring. Like I started to realize like I'm the same person in both places. It just, when I'm on tour, you're just like a nomad moving from place to place. So I just started to like, find people to play music with that kind of respected that, like, hey, the most important part of every night is playing music for all these wonderful people. And then, I'll sell merch, we pack up, and then we just, go to the hotel, hang out for an hour, watch some TV, go to bed. And I think I started realizing getting a good night's sleep on tour, it really makes the shows better. And you just learn to pace yourself, like a boxer in the ring or something. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're young, you just burn everything like, the amp is turned to 11 all the time in your life. And you just start to like pace yourself more, as you get older. And it took a long time to learn that, but now I enjoy. Okay,
I'll tell you me and Silvio's most favorite story of all time from you. You want to hear it?
Okay. I gotta get a drink of.
I'll do that.
Okay, I'm here. Soda, not drink alcohol.
Yeah, that would be fun if you were partying right now.
Yeah, at 9 a.m. No.
Okay. Best story ever, because you just said, and it brought me to that story, because you said what we do is like we play music, we sell merch, and we pack up and we go to the hotel.
Oh goodness.
Okay, best stories, Germany.
I'm embarrassed.
No. It was on point. It was perfect. Okay. I had a promoter asking me when we play, they have like a DJ afterwards. And if it's okay if your iPod can be plugged in until the DJ starts. And and I was like, of course, because we're gonna sell merch, and then I'll just tell you when we're leaving, and that's fine. Okay, cool. We went there, we played the show, and I remember it was like people bought merch, but like they just got out of the venue pretty fast, and other people came in. It got mixed up, and we were like, oh, fuck that, let's go. And we just packed up, and we sat in the van outside of that really big venue. We sat in the van. I was next to Silvio, and you were driving. Actually, that was the tour when you were driving the Sprinter, and you were sitting next to us on the steering wheel, and you were like, oh shit, is this my music? Oh, I think I still have the iPod plugged into the front of house mixing desk. Like, okay, cool. He's like, just stay here, I'll get it. And you actually just walked in that venue. It was really like the music was pumping really loud, so you could hear it outside pretty clear. And the only thing we heard was like, and that was already the time. We almost pissed our pants from laughing because everybody knew what would happen. You just went in there, you're like, yeah, they're outside the bus, we have to go. And just unplugged it. It was so good. And then you just came out, like, and there was nobody around. It was just you with the iPod. Oh, got it. And you just drove away. That's to date, that's like still the best story we have from
That's funny. I don't remember that, but I mean, I think like now, maybe I would at least have the courtesy to turn the fader down so I don't blow it. But I mean, maybe I did it wrong, but that's really funny. Yeah.
No, but I mean, the thing is, as you said, that's actually with any other bands, you still have your shit together, even if it's coming to an end at the end of a night. You know what I mean? You know, merch. That's why I refer to that. You know, that was just a funny side effect, but that was.
I appreciate that. I feel like I try my best to. It's mostly just, you know, very neurotic and very OCD about things, and I try to be as good about that as I can be. But I think some of that is just like who I'm programmed to be, you know, growing up with my own mother and how she was that way, and it just mentally, it's like I don't know, like Joey Ramone. He would have to, when he left his house every day, he would have to walk up and down the steps a certain number of times, like 22, 23. Like, I don't go that far, but like, you know, I feel like the way I can make the road feel comfortable for me and not so like spiraling out of control, and is like by making it feel as much like my home. And so those little things like playing my own music every night and like, you know, those make it easier and make it feel more like a home away from home, you know. But yeah, I definitely I try to keep my shit together, and I think you never
but that part of you also makes it really easy at some point to tour with you, because you're not like, to me, because like I'm the one most of the time who's like who takes care of the money until it comes to you, or the information until it comes to you. It's like, it doesn't make me a babysitter all the time, you know. Imagine you're like, I think like the longest tour we actually did, you played even longer. I think your maximum in Europe was the one time you were over here for like 8 weeks.
Yeah
That was like, I was really scared about that, because I was like, dude, that's like 8 weeks and we're gonna join for 5, you know. It's like, so he's over here for 3 weeks. You have like the responsibility in your head, you have it anyways, even though you know you don't have to, but you still have.
Sure.
So it's like you got like 4 people over here, they flew through to Europe and they go from town to town. And that's when I was like, at the beginning I was like a little bit scared, but then I was like, oh no, that's good. You can actually don't see Chris for 23 hours, but you will be here for the last hour of the day and play the show, and that's good. You know?
Totally. That's good that you understand that. I think some promoters, as you know, and as you have seen, I'm sure they like freak out when that happens, because I think so many bands, like, they need a babysitter, you know. And like, I know a lot of bands where like I wouldn't trust them to just show up if, you know, it was like, where's, you know, the singer? And it's like, well, me, you know. There have been plenty of times on tour, like in Australia, I just rented a car and I went across the country because I like to be able to like explore and see the places, or like in Europe, as you know, I'll get on the train. And to me, the thing I also learned is the more I started touring in Europe, the more I want to see the country and not just the backstage of a club. And that's all you ever see. So now that it's like, you know, I've been there so many times, each time I go back, I always try to stay and hang out a while and pick a new place to explore. And yeah, that's the way to do it, because you actually get to see some things and not just the club. But that's a bit harder, I think, when, you know, like in the States, we'll have to be at the club at like 3 o'clock and we don't have any like somebody to be there and do all that for us. You know, like when we were touring in the days when we had a crew, they would go set up and we could just show up and play. That was the only part that I think makes that easier. But, you know, we have to be there to do all the merch. You definitely help out a lot with that. So in Europe, it does make it a little easier when I'm especially when I'm touring solo, because I'll show up with you guys and I could always leave, or I can just show up and you just set some things up. And yeah, it's you're very helpful.
And the thing is, for us, like doing that, because we're not doing this full time and it's not considered our job, it's easy to do that because we know we're going to do this for like 2 weeks maximum, and then that thing is over. So it's also a fun thing to do, you know. But like,
totally,
if like the thing, like I talked to that with JC from Dog Eat Dog, because he told me exactly the same thing. He was like, the times where they were on tour all the time, it's just, so at some point it gets like to a struggle and you need people to help you out, because it's always, it's like a business, you know. You just have like employees and they work for you. It makes totally sense.
Yeah, as long as you find some people you trust that are honest people that can maybe do some of those things for you and take some of the pressure off, that's good. I think it's the bands you hear bad stories where they have people that work for them that maybe you know, it isn't a good chemistry, and then it's a bad thing. But for me, I've always got really lucky with, like, you know, the few times I did need some help, it was, you know, we had people work for us that helped out and made things easier. Like, you know, when we signed to Sony in 2003 and we put out So Long Astoria, I didn't know what I was in for with all these, you know, we had to do so much like press and promotion and radio stuff. And there's a certain point where you're like, I can't do everything anymore. So I have to delegate some of these responsibilities to people. And luckily I found people that would want to do some of these things for me, that I trusted, you know, to be the voice a little bit, you know. Like, I just feel like everything in this band, I always wanted to make sure it's like a filter that goes through me first. So I don't want somebody as the spokesperson and say something that I wouldn't agree with, or that wouldn't represent my vision for the band, which it's just because I've done it so long, it's such a labor of love, and you know, it's like a passion. So, but and
it's always because you don't have any misunderstandings if it goes through your filter first.
Exactly. I mean, but at a certain point, you can't do everything. It just it's, or you know, that's why if you look at, you know, Elliott Smith or like Kurt Cobain, or these people that are really incredible artists, but I think they were such visionaries and they were so passionate about what they did. You could only imagine when they had to relinquish a little bit of control and let some other people help, you know, maybe promote this vision or bring this vision to the next level. It was obviously going to not be so good for them, because, you know, how can you transport Kurt Cobain's vision? Yeah, exactly. There are a handful of people like that where I don't think that you can do that. I think it doesn't really work. I mean, at that large level, I think it's like you're getting on a moving train and you're trying to catch up, and it's like at some point you just have to be like, I can't do all this myself. And but there was this one guy when we first headed to the US with Mike for an MXPX tour. I remember I think the first show or the second show, there was a guy and Mike was like, oh, he was backlining for us for over 10 years or something. So he came to the show, and that guy was like, he came to me and Silvio, and he was like, I have seen MXPX a lot of times, hundreds of times. So I hope you guys are good. You know, and you over there always. Was he German? Yeah, I'm making jokes.
Yeah, but that could have been a German thing. No, but he just told us that like he was like a big guy, you know, like and he just stared at us and we were like, yeah, okay, we're here. I mean, we do the show. If it's good or not, you have to tell us, you know. And then after the show, he came around like big bodybuilder arms, just like, yeah, was okay. Like,
just okay. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean that was always fun because like that's something we never had, that, you know, really walk in somebody else's shoes musically. It's just like,
sure. Well, you did a very good job playing with, like, you know, for the people that don't know, you backed us up as, you know, on some shows playing in the ATARIS when I needed some people to play with, and you did a great job. I mean, I feel like when I play music with this band, you know, whether I'm playing with the guys with a live lineup from So Long Astoria with Chris and Mike and John, or whether I was playing with our old bass player Brian, or when I played with you guys, I feel like I have a vision of what I want the songs to sound like. I'll try to show you, and then, you know, it just we play and it becomes something different. But every time I feel like it at least always sounds as good as I imagined, if not better sometimes, you know? So yeah, I think you did a good job with that. And with the MXPX songs too, you always played them really, really great. I think I told you that too one time. I saw you, and I didn't think that Mike had sounded that good in a long time. I mean, I saw the other lineup of MXPX and I always thought they were really great, but there were a couple times where you guys just had a really good chemistry, and I was like, hey, this is awesome. It's really cool to see. And it still sounded like MXPX because I know Mike is like me in that way, where I know he has a vision of how those songs are supposed to sound. And, you know, he'll help tell you how to make it sound that way and then let you put your own stamp on it, you know? So,
no, but I mean, that was really fun, either with you. I mean, with you, it was way less shows, of course, but
yeah.
With Mike, it was like, and it was the first time with Mike where you actually do that and you're standing there and you just rehearsed 20 plus songs and he's flying in and you know, if it sucks or like one person is not happy, you still tour for over a month from tomorrow on.
Yeah.
So actually it was easier and relaxeder with you because we already had
really?
Yeah, because
I'm surprised to say that.
No, because we already had the experience of don't worry, you can't do it. You know what I mean? That's like the main.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And no, with you it was different because it was so short of notice. You know, with Mike, it was like we rehearsed for almost 2 months, almost regularly as a 3-piece. It was when Sven was in the band. That was originally us three, and then we just rehearsed for almost 2 months and we had fun doing, because Sven and me, Silvio definitely not, but Sven and me, we were MXPX fans anyway. So it was, we just always had to tell, because like,
that's so funny.
Yeah, because Silvio was like, always like, to him, he was like, all these songs sound the same to me. Just like from a drummer perspective, you know, it was.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, I really need to focus on, okay, that's the song with like that double bass, whatever, and snare.
Yeah.
It was that, because like when we played with Slimboy at some point, I don't even recognize when he plays a little bit different in one song on one night and on the other, because it's his songs, you know. It's like we are kind of grooved into that, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But to Mike, it was like, or even you, it was like, okay, there's like a recording and there's some live recordings, and these guys, that's their band, so it's like you can't just anything. It's like you at least have to be on track what the song is, and yeah, that was scary at the beginning, and it was easier with you. And the thing with you was just like going to the UK. We played these slam dunk festivals.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah, but that was also pretty big, you know, and
those were massive. Those were really big.
And the fuck,
I don't know, like what, 15,000, 30,000? Like what's the size of those rooms? They were big.
Yeah. And the fucked up thing, that was the same thing when we went to Gross Rock with Mike for the first time. For you know all those bands, some of them personally, you're not, but that's like the biggest mind fuck is like if you go to a slam dunk or a gross rock and Matt Skiba walks into your dressing room and asks like, hey, I'm Matt. And you're like, yes, I know. and he's like, is Mike around? And you're like, oh no, he just went outside, go to the catering tent, whatever. He's like, you're playing the All-Star stuff with Mike, right? So to him, it's just a normal conversation. To you, it's like, could you please just go away and not talk to me like 5 minutes before the show? So I have to tell all my friends, you don't believe me what just happened. That's for you, it's kind of a normal surrounding, you know, but
I understand that. I mean, at least half of it I understand, because I mean, I play these big festival shows where, you know, there will be all these giant bands outside of the punk rock world that I like, you know, when we played the Fuji Rock Festival in Japan, it was The Cure, the Beastie Boys, and like all these people shared a backstage area inside this same building. So I would just go outside into our hallway and be like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? And I'd be like, this is just weird. This is like, it just feels like I'm in a parallel universe of like a bizarro world where like my childhood has now come to life and I'm one of them. And it's insane to me. So I get it. I mean, it'd be really weird, I'd imagine, to be coming from, you know, this town in Switzerland and you were booking all these bands and now you're playing in the band that you listen to and you have people from other bands you listen to walking in trying to talk to you while all you're trying to do is focus on learning these fucking songs and getting them right. That must be surreal. I can understand for sure. Yeah.
That's what happened. And then they stay like side stage and some of them watch your set, you know. That's where you kind of like look at your
don't watch.
yeah you're like looking at your guitar fretboard and you're like yeah, I hope this is the right chord who comes next. Like, that's I had like this one trick with you. I can't remember the song, but I remember that we rehearsed at the Summer Casino for the slam dunk shows with you.
Yeah.
And there was one, it was the ending of a song with a lot of chord changes. And there was no way I could get them like in my head. Because because that's another thing. Every time we had a change in the lineup, it was like for Sven, for example, who played the guitar with MXPX also, he just always told me some of my chord changes are just not natural to him. He would never do that. You know, it's like, it's just a way of chord arrangements where he was like, why would you put that chord there?
Of course.
Yeah.
Everybody has those little things, the way they write songs. Like I was playing guitar on a project at the studio, working for a project that Bob was recording. And the guy he was recording wanted me to play some guitar on the album and help produce the song. So I was like, okay, sure. You know, easy. You make a little money and, you know, it was fun. But when I started to listen to the songs to learn them, it was the same problem. I'm like, wow, this guy does all these things that I just wouldn't normally do. It just seemed like I can't wrap my head around why this goes from this chord to this one. And I couldn't commit it to memory, no matter how hard I tried. So I finally had to tell Bob, I'm like, I don't think I can play these songs right. This guy just needs to play the rhythm guitars and I'll do my thing, my like lead stuff over it. And I think that'll be way better. And it works good. And I ended up playing a lot of rhythm after all, but still it was like that, man. I like, as me coming into somebody else's songs, it made me realize like, oh, this is how some people probably feel when they try to figure out my stupid arrangements for my songs. Because even me, when I go back and try to like show San Dimas to somebody now,
It was San Dimas.
What? Yeah, San Dimas is really wacky. I don't even understand how that makes sense to me now because it doesn't. There's no verse and chorus. It's a bunch of chaos, but it somehow worked and it made a good song that still lives on. But man, it's so chaotic, like figuring that song out because there's nothing that repeats.
Correct. And that was the only time I ever wrote something on a little note and put it on my on the amp on the back. And I remember I was standing on the side with Brian on these shows, And he didn't know that. And then after the show, I don't know how we came up to that theme. And he was like, yeah, you did the rock star thing on San Dimas. And it's like, yeah, you can call it rock star thing. I just tried to like, didn't show the people that I'm watching on a piece of paper and just reading.
Hey, man, that you're not the only one. Brian Bonzel, the other guitar player, he would make notes too for guitar changes. Like I do that too for my own songs. It's like there's some songs like Unopened Letter to the World. I change like one word or a couple words in every other chorus. I guess it's a chorus because there's no chorus in that song. But anyway, so I'll just like write down like the number one. I'll write the 2 words so I'll remember, okay, this is the chorus. I mean, even Boys of Summer cover, in that song, there's like a few words that like one's like, you got your sunglasses on, you got the Wayfarers on, you got the radio on. And I never know which chorus that thing comes. I always forget even this many years later. Yeah. So there are a few times I'll just make a cheat sheet, but after a while I'm like, whatever. Nobody notices. But it's true though. I mean, when you want to do it right and you want to do it well, you know, that doesn't, I mean, you look at like Bruce Springsteen or Metallica, they have these teleprompters with the words because they have so many songs. And once you get to a certain age and you have that many songs, there's no, especially ones with many words, like Springsteen songs, man, they're just like, it's reading a long book. It's such a long narrative. How are you going to remember like, you know, Tommy and Bobby and so, you know, because it's just a story and you probably mix it all up. I mean, but, you know, so yeah, that is, it's but very common.
For you, it's like if you're playing in front of audience who paid like seeing you, that's something, even if you mess something up, you can go back to the real thing and you find a way. To me, it was like, if I mess one chord up, there's no way I get into the song and you would kind of recognize it or realize, oh, he's out, you know, it's just mute forever, you know. But so my question is, do you want to have a teleprompter for the next tour?
Look, if I could afford that, like at some point, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I wouldn't look at it all the time. But I always see these large arena tours where they just have those at the arena, and a lot of bands will have that, but they won't. You know, I'd say 90% of my songs are all committed to memory. But like when I play these live streams, the great thing is if somebody like you'll see on the screen, like somebody asks for some strange song that I never play, I'm like, okay, I want a challenge. I want to try to play, you know, I know you like Bite My Tongue, but I like, so I started trying to play. That was the cool thing about these live streams. I just started to try and play like everything I ever wrote, you know, and I think over the course of the live streams, I probably played like 75% of the songs I ever wrote at least once, which was really cool because it made me start to realize, oh, there are some songs I don't play that is just for no reason because some of these songs are really fun to play. Yeah. So I started playing like Song for a Mixtape more. I started playing some of these deeper cuts. But those songs, I would have my computer right over there that nobody could see. And just in case, like 90% I'll remember, but then I'll just be like, because okay, that's the line that I always mess up. So I think maybe is like just a backup safety. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It'd be like having my computer somewhere on stage, you know.
No, that looks bad. Yeah. No, but
but I wouldn't have that. But I would say it'd be the same thing, you know. It'd be like when I did my live stream. So yeah, why not?
What do you think? Like, what do you think these teleprompters? I'll give you a switch next to your pedal board, and you have to look at it all the time because you have to push it when the lines have to go on. I always wonder, are they connected to a click track? Or is there a poor guy on the whole tour
just scrolling? I think sometimes with bands, they probably have like the sound engineer that presses a button and the stage sound person, or they have somebody that like loads, you know, like they have that's the problem though. I think they probably like I was watching Metallica. They did this live shows on Friday and Sunday. It was the broadcast on Amazon, and it was super cool to watch Metallica live from your house, and you could see the teleprompters, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting because does this mean they have to like play an actual? I mean, well, they have like pyro and stuff that goes off during certain songs. But I feel like if they wanted to just, because they have so many songs and they switch their setup a lot, like some bands do, which is cool. You know, like the Rolling Stones, they play like 70% the same set every night, but then they change out like 4 songs. Yeah. So I think it's cool if you're a band that is that big and you're able to just like, oh, fuck it, let's play this song instead. So then you're that guy on the side like, oh shit. But I mean, I think the cool thing is in that scenario, they probably have all the songs that band has already loaded up, and all they got to do is type in like the first word and it loads it.
You mean they have to go to Metallica Google?
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, I think you know, as long as I think something like that for us, when you get to that point as a band, if you're a band that's like that, I think it's cool if you just keep if you're able to keep playing a bunch of songs that people don't hear so often. Like the first night of those 2 shows they did, they played all this old stuff. It was their 40th anniversary. So yeah, last night they just played all these weird songs they never play. It was kind of fun. I mean, you know, so I think in a normal set, it's more format, you know, it's more like what's expected. But I liked doing the live streams because it allowed me to be able to play a bunch of stuff I never play. And I think in this scenario, as long as I have a cheat sheet, if I need it for a song I haven't played in 15 years, I think it would allow us to maybe play some more songs. I mean, because we never rehearse, you know, but I mean, that's the one problem. I think we need to like, okay, what's like 25 songs you never play that we can all kind of commit to like at least half learning. So if we want to just pull it out, maybe we don't know it's super solid, but maybe we'll excite some people to play a few deep songs they never hear, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
With me solo, it's easy to do that. But with a band, you know, there's 3 other people that need to know those songs, you know, and most of them are 25 years old, you know, so.
No, and I totally understand what you mean. And the way you run the band wouldn't be like possible to just like be 100% flexible. And I guess it's always like if you would play like a real solid show and then just towards the end play 2 songs which are just like shaky and not really good, that kind of kills the vibe also, you know.
It can, yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you don't have like hardcore fans there, I mean, I don't know, I saw a lot of bands like do you know the band Filter?
Yeah, of course.
I was at a show where they were supposed to be a co-headlining show or even a support show. It was actually in Basel, and the headlining band got stuck in traffic, so they canceled the show. And Filter was like, fuck it, we're gonna play the show anyway. So they just paid a little bit of money back, and Filter played a whole set. And he also has like a band who changes all the time, you know. It's just like him, like musicians around him. So these musicians were really young, but you kind of realize these are like the whatever, like the real good musicians, you know, like the
session players.
Yeah, like they could
play, like Nashville guys and stuff.
Yeah, they could play really everything, you know. So he was on stage. He was like, "Yeah, it's really cool. We actually end of the set, but let's do some more." So he just talked to like his band, like, "What guys did you probably rehearse or took a look at it, whatever?" So me as a fan, I quickly realized it was different versions of the songs because they just played it. It just has to be done somehow, you know. Like you know, it's just like the guitar player was always playing against the bass player so they could see what they're doing and stuff.
Yeah.
It was awesome, you know. It was because it was like songs you never heard. It was his voice that was perfect and good. But you kind of realized, oh, they haven't rehearsed these songs at all. It was there's some bands that can do that. They can just really pull things off the cuff, you know, like the Replacements. That was one of the things. Like Paul Westerberg, they would just like get drunk and just play covers that they never rehearsed. Or just play a bunch of songs off their albums. Like somebody shouts something out, and they're like, "Hey, let's try it," and none of them know it, but they're like trying to like look at each other and hash through it. Like I think like in some of my live lineups, I was able to do that to a certain point.
and others, some of, everybody has their strong suit as a player.
Yeah.
Some people are good at playing. Like, one of my things that I feel, I don't give myself compliments, but I'm good at like hearing a song and I can play it back because I have that kind of photographic memory the way I learn something. I just can hear it. And as long as it's not too fast, like a solo or something, I don't have to sit down and slow it down and figure it out. But I can usually play something if I just hear it once, or even if I remember it. I'm like, hey, play some obscure song by some band, like play this Beatles song. I'd be like, I think I can figure that out in my mind.
Yeah.
But other players, maybe they need to read it as music. I can't read any music, but yeah, some of those session guys, like the Nashville type players, they can just like do both of those things. They can like read sheet music, or you give them, because that's what they do, is they're there like, oh, hey, George Strait needs, well, he's always had the same backing band, but some of those country players, like, they'll, like, if you've ever seen the movie Crazy Heart, I don't know if it was at a different, with Jeff Bridges. It's a really good movie. I don't, probably has a different name in Europe, but it's about he's like a singer-songwriter that's kind of washed up, kind of like the Star Is Born movie with Lady Gaga.
Okay,
it was better, much better.
Yeah.
And he like kind of washed up, but he's still out playing shows and he's trying to make a comeback. So he'll have a band come and back him up, and that's kind of like a true story of like Waylon Jennings' life and some of these other like old outlaw country guys, where they'll just go do a tour and they might need a band, and these guys, that's what they do. They're ready to stand by to go play with any players. But yeah, it's cool if you can do that. I can do that, but I'm not very good at like just like being out playing somebody else's stuff. Like when I played with Mike, it was fun playing guitar and doing somebody else's stuff. But like, I feel like I've just been a front man of my own band for too long, where I just like to do my own thing. Like I don't need to be in charge. I just need to like have my own, schedule. That's what it is. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No, because to me, it's like, since I am not a good guitar or bass player, like in a musical way, you know what I mean? I just know
you're very good. You don't think so?
It's about knowing your limits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. So that makes sense.
That's why when I heard when Mike actually asked us to join him as MXPX, I was like, well, that's within the range of what I can guarantee I can do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would never ever like tell somebody, like, the guitar players we had before, most of them were really, really good, and they could just, like, as you said, hear a song, yeah, I got it. And to me, it was like, I always looked up to these guys and like, can you show me that again, please? So it was like,
yeah,
I just need a little bit more time than just hearing the song. And but I know what you mean. It's really fun to see professional musicians like who can do that. Like I was at the Beach Boys show 4 years ago, and I mean that was crazy. I mean, you just this big band up there.
The older I get, the more I appreciate going to these big arena shows. Like I saw the Eagles, and I saw Queen now, but I'm not a big Adam Lambert fan. But like, I liked how when they came out, the dude, he just said like, "Hey, I'm just here to sing these songs for you, so you can hear these songs that I loved growing up, and let the songs carry on." And he sang them great, and it was cool to see Roger Taylor and Brian May, and just see this big operation, and like, or see like any big, like the Eagles sounded so good live, and even though Glenn Frey has passed away, his son was playing, and they had Vince Gill on the other guitar, and they were one of the best sounding live bands I've ever heard. Those harmonies were like, and Brian Wilson's band live too, man. Like, when I saw the Beach Boys, and then I saw Brian Wilson, and both of them, they both sound great. And I think the bottom line is they realize these songs have a legacy, and they have to reach a certain bar and make the song sound a certain way. Like on some level, it's much larger than anything I'll ever do. But as a fan, to go see and be like, man, they make these songs sound as good as the original, and sometimes better. That's cool, because you have a lot to live up to, because these songs touch everyone's life in so many ways. And then the bands like if you go see big stage shows that have like costume changes, like my ex-girlfriend a long time ago took me to see Taylor Swift, and I thought, like, okay, I'll go to this.
Yeah.
But man, like, I respected it on such a large level. It was like seeing like a Vegas show, like the Beatles love thing, like the Cirque du Soleil thing, because they're, you know, after every song, there would be like a big set that would come out with like a bridge, and there would be another song where like the moon was in the sky, and you're like,
yeah, I know it's
so
so
cool.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about the technical side. Like, man, they must have so many trucks with all these props, and they have to roll into town like a couple days early to set this up. Or like the Rolling Stones live, man, they were just no frills. Just there's none of that. But God, they sound so good live, and they were just these guys that were playing these songs, and they played on combo amps, which was so cool. This is a band in arena playing like a little small Fender Bassman. And it sounds great, you know, like, so I love seeing her. Like when I was a kid, you know, I had to be at a sweaty club show, and I love that too. But there's something to me now that's great about, like, you know, I guess maybe it's just because I'm the old guy and I don't mind sitting in a seat and just listening to music. Before, I'd have to be crammed and be up there. Like certain bands, I still have to be in the front row singing every word, you know, like mic in my face. Like when I see the Descendants, or when I saw the remaining Black Flag guys in Flag, or like stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. But I mean, yeah, to see those arena bands, it's cool because you're respected in a whole new way when you've done.
Yeah, that's
done that.
That's true. I know what you mean. Crazy.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with age. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with getting old.
No, definitely.
45 this month. This in January.
Yeah, you're a little bit older than me. That's true.
I didn't know that. I always feel like, you know, because I guess my perception of you is you always just, you know, had your shit together, that I guess I always perceive you as a couple years older, like the older brother or something.
That's really
or
nice.
Mike too, but we're about the same age, me and Mike Herrera, you know. We're like 1 year apart.
I am 20. I'm 42 next year.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
yeah.
All
I
good.
thought you were going to say you're 20 something next year.
Yeah, no,
like,
that's what I wanted
you're
to
like Benjamin Button or something. You're like going backwards. 20.
Joel Button.
Yeah. You look the same though. You don't age very much. That's good.
Honestly,
I'm just here.
yeah. But no, that's what I want to say. That's something with your haircut. But you and Mike and a lot of other people I toured with, I think that's something because we live a life we actually love. You know what I mean? It's like,
that makes a difference.
You don't have like a bitter face look and stuff. Yeah, because like if you get grumpy, I think that's
I can get grumpy, but I know
what I mean in general. You know,
if you work at a bank every day for the rest of your life, like the people no offense to some of the people I grew up with in the small town in the middle of America I grew up with, but I feel like some of those people age a little harder because of the lifestyle in which they maybe some of them choose to live, but the ones that maybe don't, maybe but I mean, also, you know, smoking cigarettes every day. I never did that too. That can make your skin look like the old lady from Something About Mary, you know, makes it look like shoe leather, you know,
the leather face.
Yeah, Magda. Yeah, if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, but I mean,
everyone in Florida.
But I mean, the thing is, even though we're not touring that much, but the knowing that you're going to tour and then you're going to different places, for me, even though I have I don't have a real job either. I like what I'm doing, like this back here, that's my storage and my office, you know, I'll ship all my merch from here and do stuff. So, but it keeps me really young in mind, because like, that's
good.
You know,
that's how it should be.
I'll come here. I have my office with Lars. You met Lars before. And, yeah, I can walk in my shorts and like take off my shoes. You know, if I want, I can fucking watch like 4 hours of YouTube because I'm my own boss. You know, it's like,
that's great.
Nobody tells me not to do. So
that's that. Honestly, I think anybody who plays music, that's something that I feel everyone deserves. You know, like if you're able to make a living doing what you like, doesn't mean you have to make like $1 million or make tons of money, but if you can do that too, more power to you. That's good. But I mean, if you're able, ultimately, that's really all I ever wanted to do. I used to tell people, like, I never wanted to be a rock star. I never wanted to do that. I just wanted to, be a musician and play my songs, and then hopefully people hear them, and I get to go out and travel the world. I think it's the biggest thing I miss right now, more so than anything, is just being able to, feel like I can travel the world freely and feel comfortable doing it. That to me keeps me really free and feel like I'm alive. And, I'm very happy and feel very blessed and lucky for that I'm able to just still survive right now. But I mean, it'd be great if I could, like, okay, I feel like I can just jump on a plane with no mask and fly to Europe and go travel around on trains. I would have a panic attack doing that right now. I mean, you could do it, but I mean, there are risks involved. You just have to, like, assess, is that something I want to risk? No, I'd rather sit here with my dog and watch videos on YouTube. You know what I mean?
No, but I mean, if you were not able to tour from now on, that would make you probably a little bit more bitter. You know what I mean? So to me,
hopefully it'll change.
And I know what you mean, and that's the same thing with me. It's like, just knowing that I will do it at some point again just keeps me calm. Like, it's all good. We're gonna get through this.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll get to it's ups and downs. I think there'll be a point where we'll get back to at least some level of what we love doing. I mean, for now, like I said, just enjoying the good of this moments I'm in, and trying to focus my efforts on other things. Like, started working more on actually recording some new songs, and then so that way when we do launch a tour, we can have new music to put out there with the tour. That'll be good, But,
that's a really good way. That says it all. That's what we're waiting for from you.
Trying, but I think, sometimes it just takes the world throwing you into situations like this to make you be like, okay, well, I can't do this other thing I'm so used to, so maybe I can utilize this time to do something else. But I mean, at first that was hard, because I don't think, when you first get thrown into this, you see all these people like, I'm going to bake some bread and do all this stuff on the internet. Everyone's like, I'm like, I don't see where you're finding this motivation, because at first I was just depressed and like, what the fuck, all my tour got canceled. But 1 year later, like, when life for me starts to feel like more of a routine again, then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, now I can think about working on some music and doing some things that are
but I mean, if you get hit by like this pandemic, and you're in a very regular daily basis, of course you do simple things first, because there's no need to do something extra special that you never done before. And I get that. I mean, I know a lot of people who actually have real jobs and stuff. So to me, like, the whole thing with the merch store, and within the last 1.5 years, I started to work for Swiss bands, and combining like merchandising with tour management stuff in Switzerland, which is like pretty cool, because like the farthest gig in Switzerland is fucking 3 hours away. It's like, it's so easy, and all that stuff is mostly on weekends. So I'll try to, like, the same thing that you did. I did that in my little universe here in Switzerland. I just focused on new stuff. But imagine you're like working, as you said, in a retail store or in a restaurant. And you just got, like, because in Switzerland, the money thing was pretty good. Like, all the people got cuts on short. I don't know how.
Yeah, you explained this to me off camera one time.
So that's pretty cool. So you actually got money for doing nothing and sitting at home, which is like, it's not that bad. But if you always had like a regular job in a restaurant or a retail store, of course you start baking bread, because like the only thing open is fucking grocery store, and you just go there like, what did I not do the last 2 years? Never did that. Okay, let's bake it. I totally
you definitely. I think that people try to find joy in these little things. I think the problem for me is right out of the gate with in March 2020, literally the week the pandemic was announced, I get to see my daughter for the first time in many years. We visited, but it was at that time that I got COVID for the first time, and I was sick for 5 weeks and I nearly died. So that was no good. And then I had a lot of the long COVID symptoms for the month after. And then in July, I got COVID again for 5 weeks. So I think for the first half of that year, it was just one thing after another. And then I went through a really bad breakup, and it was like, man, is the universe just like punishing me for all the bad things I've done in life or what? It was karma. Yeah, I guess maybe it was. But I learned to just be a better person and try to be find happiness in other ways. But
then Bob Hawke told you can use my kitchen and bake some bread. No bread baking, but I have cooked for myself. Again, it taught me like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to learn these basic things I used to do all the time. I think that's the thing, when there's no pandemic, I got used to like, let's spend money and we'll go out to eat to sushi place and do all this. But then I just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just cook for myself every day now. And it became more of a domestic type person again, but it's not bad. Hey, Chris, it was a real pleasure that you took your time. And actually, I mean, you have a little bit now. That's good. You're not on tour.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, thanks. It's a lot of fun. I always talk with you. Hopefully we can get back to a point where we can talk in person and I could, be hanging out and we could play some shows again. That would be what I would love to be doing. Hopefully that will be in the future.
I hope so. And I'm pretty safe that it will happen. So that's really
yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Eventually.
So much for the talk.
Yeah, thanks. My pleasure, man.
Hallo zusammen, wir sind Slimboy, uns gibt es seit über 20 Jahren und 2022 kommt unser neues Album The Fear, The Anger and Most of All Your Hope raus. Wir sind wahnsinnig stolz und wir brauchen ein bisschen eure Hilfe.
Da unten findet ihr Links im Pre-Order, dort gibt es Vinyl, CDs, T-Shirts und noch ein bisschen. Ja, wir sind wirklich mega stolz, wir haben die Platte selber aufgenommen und wir glauben, es ist wirklich sehr, sehr gut geworden. Wir sind überzeugt davon, dass es sehr gut geworden ist. Und ja, wir sind wirklich froh über jeden Pre-Order, über jeden Support, weil wir wollen im Sommer dann auf Tour gehen und Touren kostet Geld für eine kleine Band, wie wir sie sind. Darum, let's go.
Dankeschön.